Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and this is a review of the Nikon D3500 2-lens kit. Now, I did get to take this out into the real world to shoot some gymnastics, and after I run through the specs, we're going to take a look at some of the sample images, and I'll tell you how it was shooting this in a real-world situation. So let's start off with the specs. This camera has a 24.2 megapixel sensor with no OLPF. The OLPF is a low-pass filter, and it doesn't have it, which means you should get sharper images. 24 megapixels is a nice place to be, and in all honesty, it has more megapixels than my $6,000 camera, but it's a smaller sensor. This is a nice image sensor to have in here. When I think back to my D2H, way back in 2003, that was 4.1 megapixels and a $3,600 camera, so it's amazing what 10, 12 years can do in technology, and now you're getting solid results out of a camera like this. In terms of the ISO range, you're going to go from 100 to 25,600, and I feel that it's usable up to, say, 6,400 in the right situations with the right settings, and in the real-world samples, I'm going to show you some examples of those types of shots. You can get 5 frames a second. Now, 5 frames a second comes in handy when you're photographing your kids running around outside and you want to capture a couple of images in a row. But keep in mind, just because you can shoot 5 frames a second doesn't mean you should. Because remember, you have to edit your images and then cull through all of them, and you don't want to overshoot and do what we call spray and pray, which means you just hold the button down and you spray images in the hopes that you get good images. You're better off just capturing the moment, boom, get a shot, boom, get a shot, than going and really not knowing what you're getting. In terms of focusing points, there are 11 focusing points, with the center one being the only cross type that you get. That means that's going to be the most accurate focus point in the camera, but having 11 focusing points is going to help you when you're shooting action, because they added the 3D tracking feature, which is something that you find in the higher-end pro cameras, where the camera is going to bounce around the autofocusing point from subject to subject or track the subject. It's pretty accurate. I personally don't use it, but if you're going to be just starting out, it may be a good option for you to try out, because it may help you get better results until you're comfortable and confident using the autofocusing points yourself. On the back of this camera, you will find a 3-inch non-touch screen. One of the only things I don't like about the camera is the fact that it doesn't have a touch screen, but I guess for the price of this body and the kit, it's fine. Just know that you won't be able to touch and move things like you do on your phone or zoom in or anything along those lines, but it's still a very nice quality screen, so your images are going to look nice on the back of it. In this edition, they added SnapBridge as well as Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, so that means that you can transfer images from your camera to your phone if you're out and about and you just want to share it with social media. Personally, I don't do that very often, but it's really easy to do, and I know that some of you guys out there may want to take some pictures of people and then share it with the world or share it with them right away. What type of memory card will you find in this camera? Well, you can put an SD card into this camera. Now, like I always say to people that are just starting out, you want to purchase a good SD card or a professional SD card, because you don't want to have your card fail on you. You don't want to get a Chinese knockoff one that sucks. You spend all of this money on a camera, you don't want to put a crappy memory card in the camera that may fail, because you spent all this money, you got all these pictures, and the last thing you want to do is lose them because of a cheap memory card. Now, with that said, I do have a free mini video course that you can sign up for right now. It's called 11 Days to Better Photography. Go to FroKnowsPhoto.com/11 days. You can sign up right there, and for the next 11 days, you will get a free piece of video content that's going to help you understand photography better. Some of you out there may want to shoot video with this camera. Now, you do have that ability. You can do full HD 1080p at 60 frames a second, but keep in mind that the autofocus capability in this camera for following your subjects is not going to be very good. Now, if you lock the camera off, meaning put it on a tripod and it's not moving and a subject isn't moving, you can get fantastic results because you don't have to worry about the autofocus. You're going to see it hunting a lot. When you try to do your autofocus, it's going to go boop, boop, boop. It's going to move back and forth a little bit, which isn't going to give you the best results. So you may want to try manually focusing, or if you just want to let it try to do the autofocus, just understand that it's not going to be as good as a camcorder was in the past. When I shot the gymnastics, I took the 2-lens kit out with the D3500. Now the 2-lens kit is priced at $496 after rebate. So at the time of making this video, it's $496 after the rebate to get the 2-lens kit. Now, if you just want the body with the 18-55, that's on rebate for $396. So there's a discount there. At the time of this recording, it may change at the time that you're watching this, but let's talk about these 2 lenses. You get this. This is a 70-300 AFP Nikkor. It's a piece of plastic, but it's giving you reach. It's giving you 70-300. My recommendation, if you're looking at a beginner camera like this, do not just buy the kit lens 18-55, because that's not going to reach very far when you're trying to photograph your kids running around the fields playing sports or pretty much doing anything. It's going to be fine for doing group shots, for birthday parties, but beyond that, you're going to get upset that you only have an 18-55. So if Nikon is going to offer this lens for $100, this 70-300, I highly suggest you start with it. But also understand that it's not going to give you the best results ever. In fact, if you're shooting indoors, it's going to be extremely difficult unless you really understand photography to get quality results indoors with a lens like this. But when I started out, my first lens was a 100-300 5.6. That was the aperture, was 5.6. That lens was fantastic outdoors, at least when I started out, because it gave me the results I was looking for. It allowed me to reach out and grab the images I wanted. This is a great starting point, a great little kit to start with, especially for under $500 after rebate. Now, since I mentioned the 2-lens kit, if you would like to purchase this body and kit, you can go to adorama.com/fro. That's our affiliate link. It helps us out and it helps us to continue to make videos like this. So when you decide to purchase any cameras, or really anything for that matter, go to adorama.com/fro. Now that we got the specs out of the way, let's talk about using it in a real-world situation. Like I said earlier, I took it to Temple University to shoot gymnastics. There was a 4-team event going on, and I've never shot gymnastics, and my challenge was to use the kit lenses as well as some better glass like the Nikon 70-200 2.8, which is $2,800, but I also would recommend something like a 70-200 2.8 Tamron G2, which comes in at $1,299. But I'll talk more about that in just a minute. Now, if you're not sure how to shoot in low light situations just yet, I did create a free guide that you can download over on the website. Just look for this orange box, put your name, email address in it, hit send it, and I will send you a free guide to capturing motion in low light situations. So to start off, I had the D3500 with the 70-300 kit lens on the camera to try and shoot this girl who was going to do the floor routine. Now, I set the ISO manually where I wanted it and then took a couple of pictures, and when I reviewed them, I was like, why are these so noisy and so grainy? Why do they look so bad? Well, what happened is the camera overrode my settings because auto ISO was set. Auto ISO is going to basically take the settings that I had and try to make them work no matter what. And in this case, just take a look at it. It raised the ISO to 25,600, which is max. That's why you're getting some noise and grain in the face. You also lose a lot of color data when you do that. And that's not what I wanted. So you can see that I was able to get the shot with the 70-300. The camera did an okay job. So that's why I like to take control of my camera and shoot manually. But when you first start out, it's okay to start out in the auto modes. But just know, this is what it's gonna look like. I was able to freeze the motion even with the kit lens, but the noise and the grain doesn't look as good. Now let me jump over to this picture right here because I lowered the ISO to 3200, still using the kit 70-300, and you can see that it looks fine. It looks much better than if it was at 25,600, which is maxing out the ISO. You rarely want to max out the ISO, if ever. I think 6400 is really the max that I would personally go to with this camera. But you can see that I was able to get the results. Now, When I switched over to a 70-200 2.8, I dropped the ISO down to 3200, and I was able to shoot at f2.8 at 1/640th of a second. But when we look at her, she is much cleaner. Look at her face, look at her smile, look at the skin. You do not see the same noise and grain that you saw before. So this camera is capable of getting quality results when you understand the fundamentals of photography. Also, the importance of glass. I'm not telling you to go out there and buy a $2,800 lens at all. I just want you to understand that the important thing in photography is glass, 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 glass. The quicker you can understand that better glass will result in better images for the most part, the quicker you will understand that when you start growing, that better glass is going to help you out. This, great starting point, no matter where you start. But what happens is after 6 months or so, and if you're not getting good results because you're just shooting the camera on auto, you start to think that the camera sucks. It's not the camera, it's usually the person a couple inches behind it, which is us. I sucked when I first started, but the quicker I understood that glass was the most important thing and understanding the fundamentals, the quicker I started to get better results. Now look at this image. This is an action shot of the girl running towards me. I was able to follow her and track her and shoot her at 5 frames a second using the 70-200 2.8. Outdoors, you could do the same thing if you were shooting track and field with the basic kit lens. There's nothing wrong with that kit lens outdoors. It's when you go indoors when you start to run into some issues. But this camera, I'm just showing you that even though it's one of the least expensive cameras on the market, you still can get fantastic results. And speaking of the 5 frames a second, check this out. I went through 12 shots in a row with the kit 18-55 lens, tracking these people as they're running. Now, and flipping over the Pommelee horse. Now, they may not be the greatest images in the world, but I was able to do it with the kit setup. So imagine you could probably do the same thing even with the 18-55 and get the results that you would be happy with. Now, a couple more images to show you. This is just to show you you can get great results. She's jumping. I cut off her hand. That's not good. Generally speaking, in photography, I don't want to cut off her hand when I'm doing that. Now, I do want to let you know that I shot this camera in the RAW setting. Now, many of you probably have heard of JPEGs, and I do recommend that you shoot RAW plus JPEG. Now, for those who don't understand what RAW is, it's all of the data that the camera is capturing. It's a RAW file, so it's larger, whereas a JPEG is compressed because it throws away data that you may not need. Think of it like a cake. When you have the eggs, the flour, the cocoa, the oil, and all of the raw ingredients, you can bake that cake, make it however you want to, but if you burn it and you still have the raw ingredients to start over, you can go back and start editing them again. It gives you more control, whereas a JPEG is a baked file. If you screw it up in camera, you aren't able to go back to the raw ingredients and the raw data to start all over again. So at the very beginning, I do recommend shooting RAW plus JPEG. The JPEGs are going to be edited files that you can share out right away. The RAW files are things that you have to edit in Adobe Lightroom. Now, we do have 14 custom Lightroom presets that can help you right off the bat edit your files basically in 1 or 2 clicks and help you learn what a edited image can look like. Now, if you want to check those out, they're on sale. Go to froknosphoto.com/presets where you can see how they work, see what the different 14 ones are, and decide if they're for you and go ahead and pick them up on discount because they are going to help you out when you first start shooting RAW. Obviously, you can see that I shoot RAW, it's all over my shirt. Now let me run through some more of the edited images from the RAW files that I edited. Now you can see right here, getting the girl on this bar thing where she was spinning around, getting some of that chalk flying, I was able to do that with the 70-200 2.8. Now, as a recommendation, this Tamron 70-200 2.8 G2 may be a lens that you would want to consider 6 months, a year down the road if you're going to be shooting indoors. It's going to be great for portraits, outdoors. It's going to be great indoors in low light situations. Like I said earlier, the quicker you understand that glass, 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 glass is the most important thing, the quicker you're going to basically start getting better results. Because the camera and kit lenses can only take you so far. It's you who can take yourself further. Now, the reason I recommend something like the Tamron when you're starting out is because it's not $2,800. If you're a full-time professional, you're probably going with the $2,800 lens because you're making money with photography. But in all honesty, we tested these side by side out at a baseball game, and it was very difficult to see the differences. So at $1,299, I know it sounds like it's expensive, but in terms of a 70 to 200, that's not bad at all when you're starting out. Now, I do want to say, if you are finding that setting up this camera is a little confusing, I did make a free user's guide. It's linked down below that you can check out, where it's me going through this entire menu system, explaining where I would set it, how I would set it, as well as helping you understand how to put the lens on, where the battery goes, and some other information. It's a free user's guide. The link is down below. It's going to help you set up this camera. So as we go through more of these images, this is one of my favorite images from this shoot. It's this girl on the balance beam. I captured her in midair as she's jumping. That was from a distance with the 70 to 200. It's a really cool shot. So a couple more to show you. Same thing, locked off, captured that girl right there, and then got this nice shot. This is at 3200 ISO again. It looks clean. It looks nice. Just look at that. The focus right on the eye, that's what you're looking for. And being able to do that with a camera like this, it tells you that it's not the camera, it's the person using it. So to basically wrap all of this up, this setup, this basic D3500 with 18 to 55 and 70 to 300 for $496 on rebate at the time of recording this, you can't go wrong with that as a learning camera, as a starting camera. If there's a kid who wants to learn photography, this is a great way to do it. If you're an adult who just wants to get better results than your cell phone or your iPhone or whatever device that you're using, this is a great way to start and not spend too much money. Again, glass, 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 glass in the future. The quicker you realize that better glass is going to help you get the results that you're looking for, the better off you'll be. But to start off, you can't go wrong for the value that you get in this 2-lens setup. So just heed the warnings I gave you in this video about the kit lenses, but really, pick it up, go out and shoot, have fun. The more you do it, the better you will get. So that's where I'm going to leave it. If you like this video, hit the like button, put a comment down below, but more important than anything, hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and also hit that bell so you can be notified when new videos go live. Thank you very much for watching. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.